Welcome to a Thursday night YouTube Live with independent Stampin' Up! Demonstrator Teresa Harper. I'm located in Oregon in the US. Let's go ahead and see if we can get on and see who's on. Tonight is going to be a little bit different than normal, in that we are going to be looking at the new Stampin' Up! Packaging and talking about some ways to work around some of the changes. So let's go ahead and see if I can get this chat up and see who's on. There we go. Hello, Cynthia. Thanks for joining me. Okay, so go through one of the new stamp sets that I have not gotten prepared. So give me just a minute or two. Let's see who comes on. And I want to give everybody time. Well, hello, Margot. I see you're new from California. So glad to have you. Thanks for joining us. Okay, so I'm going to walk you through how I put together a new stamp set when I get it with the new packaging. Okay, so we're going to need some Versamark ink, and I'm going to need some black ink. Okay, and this stamp set called Greener Lane, this will be coming out in the January mini catalog for 2026. Okay, so we're going to talk about how I get those ready. I think I finally perfected how I want them to go. So we're going to start with, we've got a piece of vellum, and Stampin' Up! Now carries 12 by 12 inch vellum, so this is perfect timing for that. We've got a piece of vellum. This is a half sheet, 5 by 7. And then I've got a couple of pieces of white cardstock, which is not actually basic white. Okay, so I'll be using 2 of those. 1, 2, yeah, I think just 2, plus the vellum. But I cut extras just in case I messed up. Okay, always cut extras in case you mess up, because if you don't, you're going to mess up, and if you do, you might not. Okay, so we're going to pull out our new stamp set, and let's talk about what we used to have, because with a photopolymer stamp that we used to have, we had this label that pulled out of your case, and it was printed in reverse so that when you put your stamps down, you knew exactly what you had pulled off, and you could see at a glance if you had one missing. Okay, so I've come up with a solution for that, because the new packaging has nothing. There's nothing printed on here. There's nothing printed on the inside. You simply have the images on the front, and they don't even match this stamp set perfectly. So it's not like you could even lay it down here and say, oh, look, I've got something missing. Okay? Plus, once you pull a stamp off of here, you have no idea where to put it back if you pull several off. Okay? So I'm going to show you how to get around that. First of all, we're going to pull off that plastic, and I'm going to set that aside. I'm not going to throw it away. Okay, so I'm just going to set that aside. Set aside the packaging. And hopefully my thing is not completely dry. Okay, so I'm going to just wash this stamp set for a second, just to get some of the um, manufacturing film off the top so I can get a better image right away. Okay, so let's set that aside. And then I'm just going to smack my hand all over it, get some of my oils, my skin oils on there. Okay. And then we're going to start, I want to make sure I'm going to get a good impression first. So I'm going to start with some black ink. And the first thing I'm going to do is I'm going to take some tear and tape here, because I want to make sure if I mess this up, I have another shot. So I'm just going to take 2 pieces of tear and tape, and I'm going to stick that on there. Okay. And then I'm going to pull that backing off. All right. So I've got that. Now I'm going to bring in my stamp positioning tool. You could use the old Stamparatus. Any stamp positioning tool that you want will work for this. I'm going to take this 5.5 by 8.5 piece of paper. I'm going to set my stamp down here inside. Okay. And then I'm going to close this lid. All right. And that's going to pick up that entire stamp set. And then I'm going to ink this up. Okay. I'm going to stamp that down. Okay, so now I've got that one. I want a second one in the black, and I will walk you through why I do this here in a minute. So we're going to ink that up in the black again. And then I'm going to give that another press. Okay, now I've got that. I'm going to set these 2 aside. And then I'm going to turn this off. Okay. Now we're going to bring in that piece of vellum. I'm going to bring in my Embossing Buddy tool powder bag from the Embossing Editions toolkit, and I'm just going to give that a good little wipe there. Okay. And then I'm going to take and ink this up in Versamark. I'm going to give it a real good inking. Okay. Make sure that's fully in the corner where I want it. And then I'm going to press that down again. Ink that up nicely. Okay. And now it's going to stick. And just to make sure I've got that good, I'm just going to do this. Then I'm going to take the 2 opposite corners and pull them straight up. Okay? And then we're going to set this aside. Now I'm going to bring in my black embossing powder here. And I'm going to pour this on. And get that all nice and powdery. Okay, missed a spot up here. Okay, that looks pretty good. Give that a gentle little flick. Okay, now I'm going to go ahead and pour this quickly back into my case here, just so I don't spill it and make a mess. And then we're going to take our heat tool, warm that up for a second or two. I see a spot here where I've got a This does not have to be perfect by any means. Okay, and then I'm going to heat this up. Got that nice and hot. It will heat pretty quickly on vellum, and you don't want to get too carried away with the heat. You just want it to turn shiny and then move on to the next section until you have this all heated up. Okay, so far we're using some basic stamping techniques, but this is going to help us out tremendously, as you will see here in a minute or so. Okay, so I've almost got that. The vellum heats rather quick. Okay, let me find the off button here. All right. Oh, so I see a spot here I missed. Let's go back, fix that up right there. And right there. And right there. Just a couple of little spots there, I think. No, here. I moved too fast, apparently. Just get that nice and melted. Okay, I think that's it. Okay, now I know you're wondering why I did that, but what we're going to do is we're going to take and let that cool for just a minute. And then I'm going to trim this down. Okay. All right. And probably let's bring back in our stamp set, which we put aside and we now need to clean. So let me clean that real quick. I'm going to clean that. And I'm going to move this. I'm going to put just a little bit of Stampin' Mist on there because my chamois is not super wet. And I need that to be good. Okay. I'm just going to clean that up. And then we're going to bring that plastic piece back in. Put over the top. I'm going to take my Take Your Pick tool. And I'm going to lift up this stamp set. Okay. And it's left very little residue behind, and all I have to do to get that off is just rub my thumb. Comes right off of the lid. Really easy. Now, if you don't want this on the back, you can take this off the back as well. Okay. Just take an adhesive greaser and take it off the back. But you really do want that to stay because this is what we're going to do. Actually, I'm going to add more. But first, I need to cut this down. So we're going to cut this down on the sides. Once I figure out where I set my trimmer. Okay, so this stamp set is 4.5 inches wide. And my paper is 5.5. So I need to cut 1/2 inch off of this side and 1/2 inch off of this side. Okay. All right, and now you see I'm taking my stamp set. I'm going to put my tear and tape back on there, right over the top of the other stuff. And put another strip here. Take my bone folder. Okay, well, I can't find the one I had down. Okay, I'm going to take my bone folder, give that a nice little press. And then I'm going to remove that. Okay. And then I'm going to take the back side of this, the non-embossed side, and I'm going to line this up with my stamps, just like that, and press it down. Okay. And then I'm going to take my bone folder again, which I would really like to have my Stampin' Up bone folder. It works the best. And I'm just going to give this a good little press here. Oh, there it is. My bone folder fell. Okay, there we go. Okay. Be a little gentle, because if you didn't quite get it melted, it'll take a little bit off. But now, when you remove the top of this and you pull your stamp off, you know exactly where that stamp needs to go back. And at a glance, you know what's missing. Okay, so we'll just put that back on. This will go back on. Okay, now you can take this and just throw it inside your sleeve. And then put your sleeve back in your case and close that up. Okay, or you can do like I like to do. Then you can just pull this back out and use it. You're good to go. Okay, but what I like to do is I like to take and attach this to the inside here. So I'm going to get some more tear and tape here and flip that over. I'm going to put some tear and tape here and here and here. And then I'm going to tape this right inside, just like this. Okay. And then I'm going to take that bone folder again and give that just a gentle little press. Okay. And now I've got my stamps there. So I'm going to take this side now, and I'm going to take one of these. I'm going to cut this down by 1/2 inch on each side. Cut off that top section there. And then I'm going to take some Stampin' Seal. And I'm going to line this up opposite of that the same way so that I know when I look at this, if I go opposite, this stamp right here says thank you. This one says wishing you well. This one says here for you. This one says love and hugs. I know at a glance what it says. I don't have to try and read it backwards because it's all right there. And then I can put all of this into my sleeve, and that is now ready for its use. Okay, now as you recall, I also did one of these. So what I like to do with this then, got this one left. I'm not going to trim this down. I'm going to leave this exactly as it is. I'm going to come over here. I'm going to take my labeling tool, and the name of this stamp set is Greenery Lane. Okay, and then I'm going to cut that off. And my next one is going to say there's 15 stamps. I want the number. And I want to know that this came from the January to April 2026 mini. Okay. And then because it has coordinating dies, I'm not sure where I set those. What did I do with the Greenery Lane dies? Let's see, they must be right here. Here they are, right here. Okay, so then I'm going to say that this coordinates with the Greenery Lane dies. That way I'll know at a glance that it has coordinating dies. Okay? All right. So then we're going to take this. I'm going to label this at the top. Add these in here. And we'll add this on. And then what do I use this for? Okay. So then I have this little 5.5 by, ooh, got dirty. Gonna have to clean that. Then I have this little book, and all I have to do is put this in the foliage section, florals and foliage. And then at a glance, when I glance through here, if I'm looking for something, I can just look for it, and then I know what I have. Okay, so that makes it easier for me to find my stamps, and it'll work especially well with the new system where you can't necessarily, if you're putting them on a shelf like this, you don't have that spine that shows you all the images. So I've got this book where I can go look. And I've been doing this even with the old spine kind, because sometimes it's just easier to see the stamps at full size than it is to look at some tiny little image. Okay, so that's what I have for you. And then you can take these if you want. I think I'm going to store mine separately, but just to show you, you could put your dies in here. Of course, I will put mine on a magnetic sheet. And then, so you can store them this way, or you can store them separately. I think I'm going to, at this point anyway, what I'll be doing is I'll be taking this out, putting it on a magnetic sheet. I'm going to close this up like that, and then stick my magnetic sheet right down there, and then I'll know exactly what I have. Okay, so that is my plan. I hope you like the little trick of using the embossing powder. I tried reverse stamping. I tried stamping on clear acetate. Let me show you how that went. So this was the Hope, Love, and Joy. This is a sneak peek of another upcoming thing. And because you can see through these, you can stamp them normal, and then you just flip it over and it works. But this was a whole lot more effort. Plus you get the stays on, you have to use stays on ink, and then you have to try and clean that off your stamps, and then you have to wash up your stamps. It's just easier to use the Versamark, and you could use the clear acetate sheets if you wanted, and you just need a heat resistant acetate if you wanted to emboss. But vellum's less expensive and we already have it, so why not use what we have without purchasing something else? Anyway, those are my tips for the new packaging, and that is what I have for you tonight. Does anybody have any questions for me at all? Oh, Margot, good. I'm glad you like that way. I didn't start out this way, actually. I started out, I'll show you, this was my first one, banner sayings. And this, I actually did reverse stamping. So it just doesn't work as well. You don't get as clear and crisp of an image. So I was sitting here thinking about how I was going to do this, and then I thought about using stays on the clear acetate, and I tried that, and then I didn't like that, and finally I went, hey, I can use embossing powder on vellum and everything will be nice and clear and crisp. I actually put this on the wrong side. I usually put it on this side, but it'll work. I recommend you put your stamps on the back side of this, not the front side, but it'll work. Okay? All right, everybody, that's what I have for you tonight. I hope this helps you out with the new packaging and knowing what stamps you have and what is missing from your sheet and where to put them back. How am I storing them on? I'm storing them at the moment. This is my storage system. It's an Amazon Prime box. And I'm just storing everything together. Okay, so I've got my stamps and my die cuts are all in the same box here. They're on a shelf. They're on top of my stamp pad case shelf. And everything is in this box at the moment. And I do plan to get some, I will show you these. Hang on for just a minute. I'll switch this out. I do plan to get a couple of these containers right here. I got these from the Country Hive. This is a size large slanted box. Okay, this box is like $16. And not only does it hold your embossing folders, it'll hold 6x6 paper if it's still in the regular packaging. So like this, we pull these out. You can put those in. It's a tight fit, but you can put it in. Or you can take these and I got to get these. Let me get these out of here. Got to get enough of them out. Okay. And then you can just take your stamps, your new stamp packaging. Oops, sorry. And those will fit right in there. I bumped you and now you're, sorry. I hope I didn't make anybody dizzy or sick. Okay. And so they'll fit in there really nicely. And I do plan on getting those, a couple of those. So those are from thecountryhive.com. She is a Stampin' Up demonstrator, and so she makes products 3D that fit, and that is what I plan to do. But at the moment, my Amazon box is working perfectly. So that's what I'm using for now. Okay, any other questions? And then I just have these on a shelf right in front of me. Okay. So let's see if I can answer anything else. And there we go. All right. Thanks for joining me, everybody. That's what I had for you for tonight. I will be back Tuesday night on my Facebook channel with a couple of projects. And they most likely will not be Christmas because it's time to move on. So we'll see what we have. I might do some gift boxes in case you've got some last minute Christmas gifts you have. But we'll see how it goes. Tuesday night, 7 o'clock on Facebook, and then I'll be back again here next Thursday night on YouTube with another project. Okay? Thanks for joining me. If you liked what you saw tonight, be sure to give this video a thumbs up. And if you haven't already, subscribe to my channel and hit the notification bell. I'd appreciate it. Thank you so much. Have a good weekend. Bye-bye.